Welcome to Perspectives El Paso. I'm Professor Leon Blevins, Professor of Government at El Paso Community College. As you can see our display here at the front, here is a wonderful picture of El Paso High School. And below is a schedule of some events that are taking place in this year of 2016. Here we are in late February of 2016, and we're going to talk about some of these things. El Paso High School's 100th anniversary. I have two women that I just met a few minutes ago, and since I hardly know them, I'm still going to call them by first name so they can tell me who they are and their last name. I see here Betty Ann, right?
Yes.
Okay, what's your last name?
Seiler.
Seiler, okay. And Sandy, okay.
My name is Sandy Aaronson.
Sandy Aaronson, okay. Well, it's good to have you. May I call you your first name?
Yes.
Since we go through this interview.
Yes.
It's good to have you on this program, and you contacted my assistant with this show and asked about being on the program, and we readily said yes. We've just been having celebrations about the 1966 basketball championship team out at Texas Western, now UTEP. And UTEP just had its Centennial 100th anniversary. And here we are now celebrating an anniversary of El Paso High School. Let's take it kind of in stages. Let's talk about, you sent me this on the internet, and we pulled it off and made a poster out of it. Let's talk first about the building, the school itself, and things about it. And we'll try to weave in some other things as you discuss things about the building. And then let's talk about you individually. And then let's talk some about some of the events coming up. So let's start with you. You're closest to me, Betty Ann.
Well, El Paso High School was designed by Trost and Trost. Mm-hmm. They designed a lot of schools in the Southwest. This, I think, is probably the greatest school that they did.
Well, this is a jewel of Central El Paso.
It is, and it's, I believe, the jewel of their designing of schools. They put a lot of detail into this building, and you can go there for 4 years and graduate and never really see all of the detail that's in it until you go back and just study the building.
And they used a lot of wonderful materials, marble and other kinds of things in this construction.
Yes, and not many high schools can say that they have marble hallways.
Right. I want to read something that's over the front doors, and I found this on the internet. It's a saying from Mirabeau Lamar, who at one time was president of the Republic of Texas, and it says above the front doors, I guess that's still up there, "A cultivated mind is the genius of democracy. It is the only dictator that free men acknowledge, and the only security that free men desire. Education and freedom." I think Trost and Trost realized that education was one of the most important things in society, right?
Yes.
Sandy, what about it?
I think so. I have become friendly with Margaret Smith, the great niece of Henry Trost. Mm-hmm. Her grandfather was Gustavus Trost, and she came for our first legacy program because that was about the building, architecture, and early education, and she really enjoyed it.
Well, they built the concrete. They used a lot of concrete down here.
Yes.
And it's probably true that this was some of the first concrete set forth for people watching a football game.
Well,
Right.
it is supposedly the first concrete stadium, and it lasted a very long time. It has been updated in recent years.
Well, sure.
But it lasted an amazing length of time.
Oh, wow. The building. When I told someone the other day I was going to be interviewing someone about El Paso High School, the first thing that was asked, is it really haunted? I said, I don't know, but I've heard stories, including from a police officer that used to work security in the building, and he said it creaks and groans, and there are all kinds of strange sounds from it. But I said, well, that could happen with any old building.
Well, I suspect that whether it's haunted or not is dependent upon your belief about ghosts.
Yeah, well, I'm a realist, so I don't pay much attention to ghosts. Right.
Therefore, it's not haunted for you.
Exactly.
There's a man that came to one of our reunions, I think it was our 30th, named Ken Hudnall, and he wrote a book, and he said El Paso, the whole city, is very haunted, not just El Paso High.
Yeah, right.
And he did tell a story about the best track coach, Danny McKillop, who came home one night from a track meet, and they saw lights on in the auditorium. And he said it was late at night. He had students with him, and he said he went. They heard sounds in the auditorium. Lights were on. When he put the key in and opened the door, the lights were off, and there was no sound. So a few years after this, that I heard this story, I saw Danny McKillop. I went to Texas Western, UTEP with him, and I asked him. He said, "That's true." He said, "That happened."
Yeah, well, if there's some can confirm that. Now let's talk about you then, going to school. Let's start with you, Sandy. When did you go to school there, and when did you graduate?
I graduated in 1964 and had a lot of fun. Talking about the building and thinking about that, I think we just took it for granted in those days when we went to school. We didn't think about how beautiful it was. And
who was the architect? That wasn't of concern to you.
No. No, we just took it for granted.
So the 60s. And then you went to Texas Western and then to UTEP.
I went to the University of Colorado for 3 semesters, and then I came back.
Okay.
And it was Texas Western. I was back in January of '66 and lived through the basketball game, and then it changed to UTEP.
I was there in 66.
And graduated from UTEP.
I got a master's in 67. Okay, Betty Ann, what about you?
Well, I came from the Upper Valley, and I went to Zach White, which was at that point had a lot of farm children that went there, and got to come to El Paso High in the 8th grade. At that point, the grade schools were pretty full, and so their way of handling that was that they graduated you from grade school at the end of 7th grade and sent you to El Paso High for 8th grade. So I was there 5 years.
Were you bused, or did you?
We were bused.
You were bused to get to school.
And the biology teacher was our bus driver, Mr. Lyon.
Okay.
And how he put up with us, I have no idea, because I think back and I think I would have killed us all.
Oh, we all acted that way at that stage of life.
But we got to choose, if we were really good, we got to choose whether we came on the upper road, which was Mesa, or the lower road, which was Paisano.
Oh my goodness.
And so, and then going back, we got to choose that too if we had been good in the morning. So, you know, that I think kept us somewhat in line.
Tell me about some of the people that graduated from there that are notable.
Well, we're doing a tile project for the Centennial.
Oh, okay.
And some of the people that have purchased them, 4 people that have went there. Laura Bush bought one for her mother. Her mother graduated in 1939. There was a man named Emanuel Stolaroff who graduated in 1917. He started and owned the Neutrogena company. The Ehrlich family. Jake was the world's tallest man at one time, 8'6". His brothers graduated. Jake was a little misfit because he was a giant.
He was a big misfit.
And his father took him to California in the summer, and he got discovered by the movies and went to the circus.
And he's buried here at Concordia Cemetery.
And he's buried right next to Concordia Cemetery.
Right next to Concordia Cemetery.
Other people that have purchased tiles that I've gotten to familiar with, there was a man named Humboldt Mandel. I think he graduated in 51 or 52. And he was instrumental in the space station and the space shuttle.
Okay.
Another man named Thorne Lay, I contacted him about these tiles that we're making, and he does something with P waves and S waves for earthquakes. I'm not that versed on earthquakes, but.
Well, now, a famous lawyer and jurist, Albert Armendariz, went there, and his name is on the side of a federal building downtown. Right?
Right.
And he went to El Paso.
And some other ones. The Trost family bought a tile when they found out that we were doing this project. And the author of Henry C. Trost, the book Henry C. Trost, Architect of the Southwest, Professor Engelbrecht, him and his wife wrote the book, and his wife, June Marie, graduated from El Paso High in 1948.
Oh my goodness. Well, we need a telephone number or website, so if anybody wants to get one of the tiles.
My email address is very easy. It's my name, Sandy. My last name is AARONSON at gmail.com.
Okay.
So it's my name, no dots or anything, at gmail.com. And we're still selling these tiles. We've sold over about 380 so far, and it is a beautification for the El Paso High and a fundraiser.
Okay.
We've already given the PTA over $11,000, and they bought tables and benches and added landscape to an area where we have the tiles.
Now,
right
how much do
behind
you
the
sell a
press
tile
box.
for? How much does it cost?
They're
to
$135.
$135 per tile. And then they turn in the name that they want on the tile.
Yes, and we send them a proof, and they approve it, and we get them made.
Oh, that is wonderful. You have some classes of this, that, and the other that are showing up for some of these events, and they have their own projects?
Yes.
Okay.
And the classes of the 60s is selling caps.
Okay.
And
EPHS.
And-
Let's see how I look. I'm going to model a cap for the
okay,
audience.
please do.
How's that look with a tie?
I think it's awesome.
I checked the internet to find out what the school colors were to remind me.
Uh-huh.
And I was told, looked in it, it was like this.
Yes.
I thought you dressed
Yes.
appropriately today.
I used to do a lot of programs for something called El Paso Rehabilitation, which is just down the street. I would do Barney and other characters for them over the years and go by El Paso High quite often. And when I was taking classes at Texas Western, now UTEP, I would go up Stanton Street and then over around and past El Paso High from time to time. I fell in love with the building. It's beautiful.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
And, you know, they say that you don't know the tradition until you have lived the tradition. But people who've gone to school there get addicted to that building. And when I taught in New Mexico, I know that my friends got really, really tired of hearing about El Paso High.
A lot of alumni. Okay, now tell us about some of the events that are coming up. We want to help you get this word out also.
Okay.
So I'm going to hold it up a little bit here.
Okay, well, the January 21st one, of course, has already happened.
Okay.
But March the 24th, and that's 2016, 100 Years of Excellence in Sports. And it will be the all of the 100 Year of Excellence ones, the Centennial Legacy Series, are free. All you have to do is come. They're at 7 o'clock in the evening. And if the first one was any indication, they're going to be awesome. The sports one is going to feature Ray Sanchez, who was our outstanding X in 2012.
Okay.
Right, 2012? 2012.
He graduated in 1945.
The journalist.
Yes.
I have him scheduled to be on an interview on this program in the near future.
Okay, so he's going to be one of the keynote presenters, and the other one's going to be Sandy.
Oh, great.
And they're going to talk about the sports.
I'm doing the girls'
influence.
sports portion, and Ray's doing the boys' sports.
Oh, okay.
100 years.
100 years of sport.
And it's pretty, I'm having a lot of fun. I'm going through the yearbooks, and I mean, I found a girls' basketball team in 1919, and pictures of that, and 24, 26. I mean, and hockey started in 1927. We had a hockey team, field hockey.
Did you play some sport?
I played golf, but I was in the 60s. I was before they had those kind of activities in school.
Okay.
I started playing when I was 12 or 13. My father started to play because I wouldn't have anyone to play with. So I didn't, it wasn't until after 1972 with Title IX, Equality for Women, where women's sports took off.
Now, I noticed that there's several firsts about El Paso High School. First music classes,
Yes.
first romance language classes, and the first, what we think of today as ROTC, or some kind of training for military things.
It was the first ROTC program in Texas.
You know, it's interesting. And El Paso has a reputation for the first kindergarten in the state of Texas.
Yes.
A lot of people don't think much about El Paso, but these are significant events in the life of our state.
I went to public school kindergarten at Sac White.
Oh,
When I said that we had a lot of farm people, we had a lot of Bracero kids.
Okay.
And I don't know,
Yeah,
you know,
right,
the
I know
Bracero
that.
program. And so they had a kindergarten, And I think that if you were not part of that program, your parents had to pay a small amount for you to get to go. But I went to kindergarten at Zach White, and some of my friends from El Paso High I went to kindergarten with at Zach White.
Oh my goodness sake.
So, you know, El Paso captures you, and many people, even if they've moved off,
Right.
and I moved off 2 or 3
Right.
different times,
Yeah.
but they come back.
I did that. Let's ask about a crystal moment. Our time is so short. What was a crystal moment in your experiences at El Paso High? Something you really remember. It just stuck there.
Oh my goodness.
You know, sometimes I find people, that's where they met their life's partner.
Uh-huh.
And other times it's something that happened, a favorite teacher, someone that inspired them to do something they never thought they would do before. You know, Sandy, you're shaking your head.
Well, I mean, I remember November 22nd, 1963.
Oh,
we were
okay.
supposed to play the Austin Panthers, and we had the radio assembly, and in those days we had it on KTSM. 10 minutes for El Paso High, 10 minutes for Austin, and you do cheers and slam each other, and then 5 minutes each. And we had Judd Milton and John Phelan used to come to the school. We had just finished that assembly, and it was lunchtime, and I had an errand to run. I went to my dentist during lunch, and I heard on the radio that JFK was assassinated. So that game was canceled, never to be made up. And El Paso High, we thought that we had a very good football team that year, and we thought, we're going to win the claw.
You knew you could win it.
We're going to win the claw, because there was a claw that went between the schools.
Okay.
So 20 years later, well, actually it was 21 years later, for our 20th reunion, Austin and El Paso High played the game that was canceled.
Oh my
Here are these
word.
same guys, 37, 38 years old. They practiced, they played flag football, and El Paso High won in the last minute.
Brag, brag, brag.
Right. And we at Channel 7, Richard Pearson was at Channel 7, and
Okay.
he sent Kevin Lovell, who's
Okay.
there again.
Right.
And we have video of it. We have it on a DVD, and we showed it for our 40th reunion, and we all stood up and were clapping. You know, that we pulled the game out in the last minute.
Oh, that's a wonderful moment to remember. One sad moment and then a very
Yeah.
happy
Good.
moment out of it.
I think my greatest memories is that I was on the debate team, and that was an interesting experience. I did that for 2 years, and my debate partner and I, and the boys' debate team, the boys won state 2 years, but we got to go to Waco and debate for for UIL.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah. Well, my first teaching assignment was Deming, New Mexico in 1963. I was there when I heard the news about JFK being assassinated. And I taught speech and drama, and I was a debate coach. And you know, the thing I like about high school in this sense is you get to know your students.
Yeah.
You see them on a regular basis and you get to know them. When I was going to Texas Western, working on a master's degree, and I noticed it was such a commuter school. You didn't have a lot of dorms. People drove to campus and went home or went to work. You did not build that relationship between faculty and student that you had to go for a lifetime.
Right.
I went to Wayland Baptist College, 500 students, and got to know my professors, and we had lifetime friendships and keeping in touch with each other over those years.
One
ahead.
more interesting thing that I found doing the sports, preparing for the sports. There was a 1919 woman graduate, Maybelle Long was her name. She went off to college. She came back and taught at El Paso High for many years. She was there until the 50s. So in 1924, she came back, and I say she was a pioneer in girls sports in El Paso. She was a tennis player. The first tennis club was in 1921. It was on Arizona Street between Arizona and Nevada, and that was in 1921, men only. And in 1923, they allowed women to join. Now, women had just gotten the right to vote in 1920, so women, were feeling their oats.
Yeah.
She had tennis in the PE classes, and and she was a coach for some of the state women, girls, I should call them,
Yeah, right.
in high school in the 40s. And I found an article from the UIL, Texas Interscholastic League paper, 1951, and it said there's almost nothing to compare to what the El Paso schools have done. They won 11 championships in 6 years. And they said the reason for that is because they gave the girls the opportunity, no, their students, the opportunity to play. So I think she was a pioneer. She played tennis. She started it in the classes in the 20s. And then they had just tennis classes, or one after another after another. It wasn't just a 6 weeks program in their gym class.
Well, what kind of professional things did you go into? I know you said you were speech teacher and so on. Is that what you did most of your career, was teaching? Did you go into
Well, I had 2 careers.
Okay.
My first career was as a social worker.
Okay.
And then finally I kind of burned out at that.
Okay.
And then I taught early childhood education at New Mexico State University, Alamogordo.
Oh, okay.
And that's what I'm retired from.
Well, that's wonderful. And what about your situation?
I majored in health and PE and biology at UTEP. I got a teaching job at Austin High School in 1970. In 1973, I didn't like the coaching part of the physical education. We had to coach all year long.
Right.
We got $500 extra for the whole year.
Oh, that's hard.
And I was going to go into the classroom and teach 7th grade biology. And I left El Paso and I went to Dallas, and I fell into a job at Boise Cascade making corrugated boxes. And then after 3 years I came back here, and I was a buyer for Aaronson Brothers, my father's and his brother's stores. And I did that for a number of years, buying ladies' lingerie and children's, infants and toddlers clothing. Then my father was going to sell his stores, and I went to be a manufacturer's rep. I was a salesperson selling ladies' underwear.
Okay.
Same people I used to buy from, I went to work for.
That's an honorable profession.
Right. So I would travel around and sell underwear. Okay. And my CV handle was a traveling sales lady.
Well, you're the only person I've interviewed that was an underwear salesperson.
And when I would
That's wonderful.
When I would tell the truckers, I said my handle's a traveling sales lady, they go, "Sales lady, what do you sell?" When I said ladies' underwear, there'd be dead silence.
They wanted to joke about it, but they knew they shouldn't.
And then I would go in and out of town, and I kept seeing that there were fewer and fewer stores. They were closing up. Walmart was opening up in a lot of little towns. Yeah. And I got my real estate license, and I am a realtor. Well,
that's a wonderful thing about the United States of America. There are all kinds of opportunities, and there are all kinds of things that people can do that are worthy occupations. And this lays the foundation.
Yes, it does.
Well, kindergarten lays a lot of it right there. You mentioned a while ago. I tell people one of the most important places in education is the lower grades,
yes,
where
exactly.
they're getting all that reading and writing and everything. And
preschool, I think, is so important because it gives it gives them an opportunity, right. Just like in the tennis gave the opportunity.
Right.
We are all born with intelligence.
Right.
But it's experience.
And then when you get here, in my high school experiences, I graduated from Levelland High School near Lubbock, and I've actually written a thank you letter years ago and sent it to the newspapers in the communities where I went to school, thanking them, specific teachers that helped me to become what I became, a professor, a writer, an actor, and so on. Is a lot of it begins down there. I had people that encouraged me, 6th grade teacher and so on. And you get to high school, you must have had some good high school teachers.
Yes. Humboldt Mandel, the one that was instrumental in the space station, went on his tile. He put, "Thank you to the teachers. This is where I got my start."
Right.
And that's what he put on his tile.
And teachers they're not appreciated the way they ought to be.
Right.
And that's too bad.
Right. Because
they do make a difference in what you become.
Right. Well, my English teacher taught me how to write a paragraph. I didn't take any speech classes in high school, but in college I took speech and drama, and they taught me how to get up on a stage and present myself in a way I'd never done before. I had trouble with math, but even my math teachers were understanding of my lack of ability there and helped me through the basic problems. And that's what I like.
We all have strengths and weaknesses.
Yes, exactly. Yes. And some can play tennis and some can't. I made a D in golf at Texas Tech when I was a student there. Okay.
I was a city champion twice.
Okay.
And the club champion 21 times.
So I'm not going to compete with you.
I don't play anymore.
So we can laugh about this, but this is really a wonderful thing that you're celebrating 100 years. Some schools don't last that
100
long.
years
That's
of the
right.
building.
Of the
100
building.
years of the
Because
building.
the first graduating class was in 1887,
Oh my goodness.
Two students.
Before the building.
before the building.
Yes, we had two buildings before this building.
Okay. So this is 100 years of this building. Well, thank you for informing me. I learn something every day. I think it was 1974 that El Paso Community College had its first graduating class. I came here in 72. Classes started in 71. I think it was 74. And it was in the auditorium at the El Paso High School. And Lucy Scarborough in our music department played the processional and the recessional at that graduation. And we had around 20 students that graduated that first one, which was wonderful. I have a lot of good memories about this building. One of my former students, Tim Thompson, in recent years has been a choir director teaching there.
Oh.
And from time to time I crossed paths with a number of successful students who finished here.
I would like to say if anybody wants more information on the Centennial, the website is ephsalum.com.
Right, we're running out of time. That's a perfect place to put that.
And it's
it's
right
here.
down there.
Right down here. Well, thank you for tuning in and finding out about El Paso High School. It goes back further than this building, but they've had 100 years of wonders in this particular building. Thank you for coming and telling us about El Paso High School.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.